Hey everyone, Daniel here with Slow Haste. Today, I'm going to teach you how to make beats or music or tracks without thinking at all. And that's the point. The point is to not think or to not have to think about the process as you're going through it. And I don't want you to think that I'm talking about, any sort of like cheats or shortcuts to just making fully fleshed out tracks without using your brain. Of course, you have to use your brain. But I'm here to talk about how to separate the sort of preparation process from the actual music making process itself. And I have a few tips and tricks on how to do this, and then I'm going to show you with an example of a project that I have set up in order to do so. So really the big thing here, and I'm focusing on the Digitakt, but this can apply to any sort of sampler or a DAW that you're using, or just any synth really, in terms of preparation. But for samplers specifically, the thing I want to focus on is getting your samples ready, because this is a huge part of the creative process, is finding the group of sounds that you're going to be using. And a lot of the times what I found used to happen was that I would sit down and I'd say, okay, I have to write a song. I'm going to write something. And I would get so caught up and or frustrated in the process of finding or not being able to find the right batch of samples or the right combination of samples that I wanted to work together. So what I do to kind of mitigate this issue is I have sessions that I plan for myself that are solely focused on sample allocation and sound design. And this includes like building out the headspace of a track, like panning my hi-hats or my snare drum a certain way, just to prepare myself so I know that everything is going to be as easy as possible. I want to create the path of least resistance when I go to write that song. And again, I carve out time for these sessions, and I started really looking forward to them because it's kind of just this pressure-free time to just think about sound and think about how you want your music to sound and creating those sounds and getting that sort of practice in with your instruments. So yeah, that's a big method that I use, separating sound design sessions from actual beat making sessions. When I go down to make a beat or try to write a song from those sounds that I have, then I say, okay, I'm not gonna fiddle with the samples, I'm just gonna try to sequence them into a song. And then once I find something that kind of gels together, if I decide I wanna tweak the samples a little bit, I'll do that after I have a foundation of a song down. So the next big point I wanted to talk about is trying to start thinking about your electronic instruments the same way you might an acoustic instrument, like a guitar or a piano, for example. One of the challenges with electronic-based instruments is the fact that there's like an inherent writing process built into how you play the instrument. The Digitakt, for example, is a sequencer. You sequence things into it, and they are there permanently, and you hit play, and like the part of the song is there forever, unless you delete it. Versus something like a guitar or a piano, when you think about, writing a song, in order for that song to be played audibly, you have to play it every single time. And this makes it a lot easier to kind of make changes on the fly, right? Whereas if you are sequencing something on a synth or a sampler, everything that you put into that sequence is there, and you have to actively change it if you want it to sound different. This can lead to burnout really quickly when it comes to making beats, and it can make you bored with your music. It can make things sound not as exciting because you hear it so frequently, and it can take away that novelty, which can be really tough. So a suggestion that I have here to kind of mitigate that would be to just not listen to your patterns and your loops over and over again and get frustrated with trying to build them. Again, I think sort of doing sound design before you go to make a beat can help with this, because you already know where your sounds are going to lie, and you know that you're not going to be constantly tweaking them and messing with a lot of parameters as you sort of build your beat out, which can lead to auditory fatigue and you just kind of getting bored with whatever you're working on. So yeah, think about, practicing and playing your electronic instruments the same you would an acoustic instrument, especially in the context of songwriting, where things can get kind of tricky and repetitive, because you don't want that to sort of inhibit your ability to progress forward with a song that you've been working on for a while. So now that we've chatted a bit, let's get behind the Digitakt, and I will show you an example of what I'm talking about with getting your samples prepped. So here I have these samples, and you can see, you can just look at the panning, they all have different settings that I've applied to them already. So I'm just gonna kind of, okay, I have 70 BPM. I kind of want to make it a bit faster. Let me tap it out. Okay, so, oops, I'm not on the kick. I'm just gonna punch in a 4 on the floor pattern, and this is the truly without thinking part. I'm going to punch in a pattern, and I'm going to just play some accents on this auxiliary percussion part. And quantize everything. get that metronome off. Whoops, there we go. Okay. So again, I'm not really thinking about what I'm doing right now. I'm just kind of going with my gut. And I got this beat, and I'm going to save it. All right, so I have this basic percussion part down, and I have this sample that I found, and it's a little piano progression. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to enter the notes, and then I'm going to parameter lock different points in the sample. So let me turn the metronome back on and do that. All right, this is going to take a little bit of finagling, so I might speed through this if it's not exciting. We'll see. Okay, we're back. So I sequenced this little bit by just parameter locking the sample start time. And I'm going to play around with the overall track parameters. And I'm going to try to fill in some of the empty space by doing some little reverse tricks. So what I did there is I just took the sample, copied it, and reversed it so it fills in that empty space. And I'm going to do the same thing, and now it sounds like this. Put a little bit reduction, crank the overdrive a little bit. Let's add in some hats. Sometimes I prefer to live play things in like this, and sometimes I'll put them on the grid. I don't know, I don't have like any sort of rhyme or reason as to when I'll do which. It's kind of just whatever I'm feeling at the moment. But I know what I want to do is I want to have a da, 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 da. So I'm going to punch in a note here. And, oops, go to the amp page. And then just bring down the volume. And then copy it and paste it. In various places. Maybe take down the overall volume of that. Try some delay. Some reverb. So this is really just the beginning of how I'll start a track when I've sat down during an allocated beat making session. And as you can see, it came together really quickly. And I already had an idea in my head from when I was playing around with finding that piano sample. And I was thinking about it this morning because it was like the last thing I did before I went to bed last night was put together these samples in this project. So another advantage that I haven't mentioned yet is that it definitely gives you sort of like an opportunity to mentally map out where you might want these samples to go, what sort of melodies you might want to make with them, and how you can further manipulate manipulate them as you work through the song. I'm personally really excited to work through the rest of this beat, and hopefully sometime in the next couple of weeks I'll have a little performance video and you can see where it went to. And once that happens, I will definitely put a link in the description of this video. Hey, if you've made it this far into the video and you've been enjoying yourself, definitely consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like. Every little bit definitely does help with channel visibility, and I also really like to see what sort of content you guys like engaging in and what sort of direction I can take the channel in moving forward. So yeah, always appreciate your feedback. It's always great to talk to you all down in the comments too. Anyways, as I mentioned, I really look forward to kind of working on finishing this beat, hopefully turning it into a song, and maybe incorporating the digatone with it a little bit too. But that's a video for another time. Anyways, as always, thank you so much for joining today, and I hope you make some good music this week. Peace.